Welcome to the Totally Online Gaming Group YouTube channel. This is episode 3 of my Dungeons & Dragons for Beginners series. In the first 2 episodes, we covered dice and the basic terminology. In this episode, we're going to look at character creation using D&D Beyond. But first, be sure to hit the subscribe button and type subscribed down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get back to each and every one of you that does. So for today's topic, we're getting into character creation, so let's get to it. So here is D&D Beyond. It's a great tool for playing D&D and for helping to build your character, keep track of all your stats, and automatically calculate things so that you don't have to do it yourself. I'm not sponsored by D&D Beyond, knock on wood, I wish, but I do enjoy their program. So, let's take a look at it. First, you'll want to set up your own D&D Beyond account if you don't already have one. You can do this for free, and it will be limited in some aspects. Being that I have a paid account and have all of the books, some of the things that you will see in here, like the list of choices for races and classes and other things, will be a lot larger than what you would see with a basic account. This is a good thing though, because then you won't have to suffer from analysis paralysis and trying to decide between so many things. Anyway, let's actually get into character creation. So first off, we will go up here to where it says Tools. And then with Tools, we can choose Character Builder. Now we're going to go with Standard. Nice thing about Standard is if you are a beginner, there is an option here to show help text. This will help walk you through the process. Well, today I'm going to walk you through the process, so we're not going to click on this. But we are going to choose Standard. So let's create our character. First thing I can do is give my character a name. If I don't know what name to give it, well, I don't have to do it right now. I can always do it later. But I'm going to give mine a name and just call it Example Character. Now, with all these choices below, you might be thinking, what do I choose? What am I going to do? Well, your Dungeon Master may give you some guidance as to what things to choose and what things not to choose. If in doubt, having almost all of these things turned off, or just the default setting, is going to be the best thing just when you're trying out making a new character. Sources, well, this tells you what sources are going to be allowed in the game beyond what the standard books are. In this case, I currently have these two, Magic the Gathering content and Eberron content, active. I'm going to turn those off because we're just going with the basic books. And I'm going to leave pretty much everything else as it is. Now, when I go to make a character, I need to picture, what do I want my character to be like? Do you have a favorite book or movie? Maybe a character from a comic book that you enjoy. Maybe there's a movie that's your favorite movie on Earth. Maybe you just really like the idea of a character that you've made up in your head. Whatever your inspiration may be, go ahead and decide what you'd like your character to be like. I'm going to go ahead and say my character, well, he's just a rough and tumble fighter. I'm thinking like maybe a Knight of the Round Table. Something like that. Just a standard knight who wields a sword and smashes the enemy with his sword, protecting himself and his friends with his shield and his heavy armor that he wears. So that's what I'm going to model my character after. Now, my first choice, once I've decided kind of what I want to make my character, is, well, what is their race? So I'm going to go ahead and click on this next to actually move into race, where I can choose what race I want my character to be. I'm also going to filter the race sources to make it easy. I'm going to choose basic rules. This way, you can see that the list is much shorter than what it was a moment ago. If I go to all sources, because I have all the books, I've got lots more sources to choose from, lots more races to pick. But I'm going to pick basic rules. And you can think of race, as we described in the terminology, as the different types of creatures that are available in the gaming world, like elves, dwarves, humans, halflings, and many other things. Well, I'm just going to go with a basic human fighter. So, when I click on human, I have two different choices. There's a regular human and a variant human. We're not going to get into the variant human stuff right now. We're just going to pick a regular human. When you click on a race, it opens a window. In this window, it details a little bit about that race, including some of the benefits there are to being that race. For example, a human, as a racial trait, I get a +1 to all ability scores, and I learn an extra language. If I want more information about that, I can click on the Human Details page and learn more about them. If I don't like the different bonuses or things that this race gives me, I can always cancel and pick a different race. In this case, I'm going to stick with human. So when I click on it and it opens this window, I'll go choose race. Now, once I've chosen my race, anything that I need to select, like that additional language, I'll see it highlighted like this. So I'm going to click on the drop-down, and it allows me to pick an additional language. I can pick any of the languages on the list of languages that are available. I'm going to pick Goblin, because I just think that's funny. Come across a goblin and start speaking Goblin to it. That'd be interesting. I'm going to go with that. Once I've made any choices that I need to make for my race, I will click on Next to go to Class. If you remember from the previous video on terminology, class is like the character's job. Well, I want my character to be like a knight, a fighter that runs into battle using his sword, his shield, and his heavy armor, and defends the weak against the wicked. Well, I think a fighter is a good fit for that. So I'm going to click on Fighter. Just like with the race, when I click on a class, a window opens that gives me information about that race. Some of the information that's important to know are things like the hit die. This is the dice that is used for determining how many hit points that class will get every time they level. So this is important to know. For a fighter, I get a D10, or a 10-sided die. So every level that I go up, I will get to have a 10-sided die, and that will add to my hit points. It also tells me what my primary ability may or may not be. It looks like strength or dexterity could be a primary ability. I guess it really depends on whether or not you want to be more of a brute strength type fighter or more of a nimble, dexterous fighter. I think I'm going with brute strength. It also tells you what saves or saving throws that this class would be proficient in. Fighters are proficient in strength and constitution. Okay, that's pretty good information. That lets me know that anytime I have to make a saving throw for strength or constitution, my character will be really good at those because they get their proficiency bonus added to them. Then below that information, it will actually go through, based on things that happen at specific levels as your character levels up, different abilities or skills or special things that they may get. For example, at first level, my fighter can choose a fighting style. They will also get an ability called Second Wind. At second level, my fighter would get an ability called Action Surge. So I can read through all of these different things and see what levels they occur at, and determine if fighter is the right choice for what I want my character to be. Well, I'm going to stick with fighter for this. We're going to make things simple. So I will now click on Add Class. Once I've done that, just like it did for race, it will shift the screen to show me what things I need to select now in order to complete my fighter's class. It will also tell me what level I am. We're starting with level 1. And when I level up, I would choose the next appropriate level. So here, the things that I need to make choices on: proficiencies and my fighting style. So I'm going to choose what things I'm proficient in. So when I click on this, it will tell me what things I'm already proficient in, and then it will give me the option to choose the things that I need to add. So for example, armor. A fighter is proficient in all armor and shields. Weapons, they're proficient in simple weapons and martial weapons. Tools, none in particular. And then if you notice how it's turning gray here, I can simply click on Show More and it gives me more information. It expands that out. Saving throws, as we saw in the description, Strength and Constitution. And then skills, it tells me I can choose 2 from this list, which that's these down below. So I'm going to pick 2. I will pick Athletics, because I think my fighter should be athletic. And I'm going to pick Intimidation, because I want my fighter to be intimidating. So they'll be proficient in those skills. The last choice I have to make is Fighting Style. So when I click on this, it will describe, again, what fighting style is all about. And then I will get to pick from a list of the available options. Well, I'm going to choose Protection. Whenever you choose a fighting style, the description will show up underneath it, so you can see what that fighting style does. If I don't like that, I could go and I could switch it. Well, I'm going to keep Protection, because with Protection, the description basically says that if I am standing next to a friend of mine, and there's an enemy right there next to us, and that enemy, instead of attacking me, attacks my friend, as long as I have my shield, I can use that shield to make it harder for that bad guy to hit my friend. That sounds something very knightly to me, so I'm going to stick with that. Now, all of my choices have been selected. Nothing else is highlighted saying that I need to make a choice. So I'm now done filling out the class section. I'll click on the arrow Next to now go to Abilities. This is how you are going to generate your 6 ability scores. Your Dungeon Master may choose one method over another depending on their preference, and say this is the method you will use. Well, there are 3 methods that you could choose from in D&D Beyond. Standard Array, Manual or Rolled, and Point Buy. As stated, your DM could say, I want you to use Point Buy, or I want you to use Standard Array, whatever. But if they don't specify and leave the choice up to you, you need to know how each works. Well, so let's start with Point Buy. With Point Buy, all of your ability scores start with a base level of 8. You will have 27 points to spend in order to increase those ability scores to higher numbers. If you'll notice, the points go up as the ability score you want gets higher. So for a 15, I have to spend 9 points. That means I could pick a 15 in 3 of my stats. And my points are now at 0. So I have no more points to increase my remaining stats, so they would stay at that 8. Well, wait a minute. It says total 16, 16, 16, 9, 9, 9. Why is that? That's because I chose human. And as we saw for a human, they get +1 to all their ability scores. So that's why my total has increased from 15 to 16 and from 8 to 9. So if I wanted to customize what scores I had for different abilities, I would want to be a little more selective on how I spent those 27 points. Perhaps my dexterity, I'll put it at 11. I'll put my constitution at a 13. We'll go with charisma at a 13 as well. And we'll up our wisdom and our intelligence. There we go. That's good. So that's what I could do with point buy. If I chose manual or rolled, I could now type in values directly. So for example, if I wanted to use real physical dice, I could roll those dice to get my total for each score and then type it in. Or I could roll separately down here. Notice it'll roll 4 6-sided dice, or 4d6. And as I roll those 6-sided dice, I end up with a score where it takes the highest 3 and discards the lowest. And I can do this 6 times, just like this, to see what I get for ability scores. And then I can choose where these go. Well, I'm a fighter, I want to be strong, so I'm going to put that 16 in strength. I also want to have good health, so I'm going to put the 14 in constitution. Well, I'm not the smartest fighter, so we'll put that 6 in intelligence. We'll make sure we have a little bit of charisma. But what I'm left with is dexterity and wisdom at 8. And once I've selected everything, I apply them, and I get my totals now. The nice thing about manual or rolled scores is I have the possibility of getting very high stats. However, the drawback, I also have the possibility of getting very low stats, like my intelligence here. So it's really up to you whether you want to risk getting lower stats, but have the possibility of getting really high ones. Personally, sometimes having really low stats can be super fun. The last method is called standard array. With standard array, I get one of each of these numbers: 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And I can pick where I place them. Once again, I want a strong fighter, so I'm going to put a 15 in strength. Dexterity, I don't need to be super dexterous, so let's go with a 10. Constitution, I want to be healthy, I'm going with a 14. Intelligence, it's kind of nice that he's a little bit dim-witted. I think that's a bit endearing. Wisdom, we'll just choose the 12, and charisma the 13. Oop, it didn't select. There we go. So now I've got my totals that way. Once again, because I chose human, I get a +1 to each, so you can see my total for each. And below this, I can see my score calculations. It gives me details on how they calculated each ability score. Once I'm done with this, I simply hit the next arrow to move into description. Now in description, most of the things in here are flavor. Things that help bring your character to life. Things like their hair color, their eye color, their skin color, their height, their weight, all of those things. What their personality's like. Things that you can just decide as a character, as a player, and how you want your character to be. However, there is also background. Background is going to have an effect on your character mechanically. I can click on here and choose a background from the available ones on the list. typically you're going to want to choose something that makes sense for the character that you have in mind. For my character, we've chosen a human fighter. I kind of want him to be like a knight. So I am going to look through the list here, and I will see down a little ways towards the bottom, I see soldier. That sounds like a good one. So I'm going to pick soldier. Here we go, soldier. It gives me a description of what the soldier is like. If I don't like it, I can change. And then for a soldier, it says I can choose 2 more skills that I'm proficient in. It also says because I'm a soldier, I'm proficient in vehicles, land, or in other words, like a horse and cart, or something along those lines. And then it allows me to choose a gaming set, like chess, or dice, or playing cards. Well, I'm going to choose my 2 skills that I want. I'll go with, well, let's say deception. Maybe he's pretty good at lying. And I'll go with acrobatics, because maybe he likes to, besides being very athletic, he's also decent at dodging around things. And then I'm going to choose a dice set, because that sounds fun to me. The rest of the stuff I'm not going to fill out for this character creation. Just know, as I said, it is mostly flavor that you can add to your character to give them more depth. But you don't have to do that. Once I'm done, I will hit next, and now I'm in equipment. In here, I can choose either equipment, which gives me some starting equipment to choose from, or gold. Your dungeon master may specify that you have to use one or the other for that game. Most of the time, it's not something that, at least I, worry about. I tell my players they can either choose starting equipment or gold. If I choose gold, it's just going to give me a starting gold value. For a fighter, it's 5d4 times 10. So I can roll this to see how much gold I'm going to get. So randomize. It looks like I ended up with 8. So times 10 is 80. So that would be my starting gold. Or, if I got a 20, hey, there we go, 200 gold. So it allows you to roll to see how much gold you got to start the game. But now, I would add the gold, and I would have to buy my equipment separately. You can also choose equipment instead. Here, it gives you a list of starting equipment. Some based on your class, others based on your background. You can choose from the different options available here. So, for example, I can choose either chainmail or leather armor with a longbow and 20 arrows. I'm going to choose chainmail for my fighter because, again, I think of him kind of like a knight, and that's a heavier armor than leather, so that just makes more sense to me. I can also choose a martial weapon and a shield, or 2 martial weapons. Well, I like having that shield. That's kind of what I built him with, a sword and a shield, so that's what I'm going to do. So I get to choose my martial weapon. I'm going to choose a longsword. So now he's got chainmail, he's got a longsword, and a shield. I can also choose either a light crossbow with 20 crossbow bolts, or 2 hand axes. Now let's go with that light crossbow. And then I can choose from a pack of equipment, either a Dungeoneer's pack or an Explorer's pack. The Dungeoneer's pack, if I put the check in the box, I can see what things are inside this pack. Things like your backpack and torches and certain things. I can do the same with Explorer's pack and see what's in there. And I can decide which of the 2 I want. And then when I'm satisfied, I'll just make sure to put a check in that box, and that's what I'm getting. For my background of soldier, it's giving me some options here, mostly for flavor, like a dagger, a broken blade, a piece of a banner. So I can pick one of these, and even though the dagger is a weapon, these are more for flavor. I could use the dagger as a weapon, so I'd have a dagger as well, but it's kind of something to add for flavor. So I'm going to choose a broken blade. And then it's giving me the option of a set of bone dice or a deck of cards. Well, since I chose to be proficient in dice, I think I'll choose a set of bone dice. And then I also get some common clothes and a pouch containing 10 gold. So now, instead of choosing the gold option, seeing what I get for how much gold, and then buying all my equipment, by choosing equipment, I can just choose from the list, and I still end up with a little bit of gold. Once I've decided on everything that I want, I click on Add Starting Equipment, and then it shows me my current inventory and all of the things that are in it. And from here, anything like my chainmail that I need to wear, I should select that. Or weapons that I may use, like my crossbow and the bolts for it, or my longsword, and wearing my shield. I want to make sure to select those things so that I know what my character is using. This allows the D&D Beyond character builder to actually calculate your attack rolls, your damage rolls, your armor class, and all of those things for your character sheet. Now once I'm done with all these selections, guess what? I hit next, and now I can either export all of this information to a PDF or simply view my character sheet. And here we are. Example character, the level 1 human fighter. I now have my character sheet. Everything has been calculated by D&D Beyond for me based on the choices I made in character creation, and I'm ready to play. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was useful for you in creating your first character. Thanks for joining us. We hope to see you in the next video. Bye everybody.